Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. I am so excited to share this ultimate healthy meal prep with you today. I have got a ton of ideas for meal prep for you and your family that you are going to love. We are going to make some healthy peanut butter banana bars, some Mongolian steak for lunch meal prep. I'm also going to share a really fun fruit dip that is healthy and made out of a little bit of Funfetti cake mix. I'm also going to be making a corn and bean salad that's really refreshing and delicious for summer, a kale salad recipe that turned out so good, and at the end I'm also going to share a really delicious recipe for some keto almond pound cake. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna prep some of these breakfast peanut butter bars, and this is actually, if you've ever heard of Matthew Weiner, he is actually a bariatric surgeon, but he has basically kind of like a way of eating called the Pound of Cure, which is where you eat at least a pound of vegetables every day. And I did purchase his cookbook on recommendation from another YouTuber. So I'm gonna try this recipe out of there. They look good. I don't know how they could be bad with these ingredients. So you'll need some peanut butter, 2 bananas, some rolled oats, some almond flour, cinnamon, vanilla, either honey or maple syrup. I'm going to use maple syrup, some ground flaxseed, about a half a cup of unsweetened applesauce, some salt, and then optional is 2 to 4 tablespoons of vanilla protein powder, but since I have it on hand, I'm going to go ahead and use it. So first thing we're going to do is mash our bananas. I have some very ripe bananas here that are going to be perfect for this, so I'll just put those into the bowl. I'm kind of hoping my kids will like these too. All right, so I just like to mash bananas with a potato masher. I think it's the easiest way to do it. You could also use a fork. Okay, so we're gonna add our applesauce. 2 teaspoons of maple syrup or honey. Eyeball, of course. By the way, this is my Danish dough whisk, which I really love. I can link it down below. It's very handy for recipes like this and muffins and things. Okay, next I'm gonna add 1/4 cup of peanut butter, and I'm just gonna eyeball that because no one wants to get the measuring cup dirty with peanut butter. And then I'm just gonna work this in. All right, next we're gonna add the dry ingredients. So 1/2 cup of oats, 1/2 cup of almond meal, or almond flour, I guess it's kind of the same thing. 1/2 cup of flaxseed, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then 2 to 4 tablespoons of the vanilla protein powder. Probably gonna add about 3 tablespoons. And then we're just gonna mix this together. All right, well, it smells really good. Okay, so I've got a 9x9 baking dish here, and I'm just gonna spray this with a little bit of cooking spray. I personally always like to use parchment paper when I make anything like this because it just ensures that it's not gonna stick to the pan, and also it makes it easier to lift out. And honestly, this spraying the pan doesn't really do anything. It just helps the parchment paper stick, so. Okay, so I'm just gonna spread this in the bottom of the pan, and then these are gonna bake in the oven, and then you're actually gonna pull them out, I think about 10 minutes before they're done, and add more peanut butter to the top. And then once they're done baking, cool them, refrigerate them, cut them into bars, and kind of like a homemade granola bar, I guess, but I don't know, anything with peanut butter I am in for. Okay, so this looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the oven, 350 degrees for 20 minutes. Okay, so here are my bars. I took them out of the oven after 20 minutes and I put about 1/3 cup of peanut butter on there. I'm gonna put it back into the oven just so it can melt so I can spread it a little bit better, but I'm just gonna bake these for 10 more minutes. All right, so here are the banana peanut butter oatmeal bars after they have baked with the peanut butter layer. So I'm gonna let these cool, lift them out of the pan, refrigerate for a couple hours, and then we'll cut them into pieces. Okay, so my peanut butter bars have chilled for about 2 hours. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut them and put them in a dish. Yum. I think I'm just gonna cut them like this. We'll give one a taste so I can tell you guys what I think. Oh wow, those are really good. Very it's like healthy tasting, but delicious, I would say, is my assessment. I like it. I hope my kids like these. I think they will. I'm just gonna put some parchment in between the layers of these so they don't stick together. Yeah, I can see having these for breakfast. It would be really good with a cup of coffee, or even if you just had like a sweet craving in the afternoon and need a little pick-me-up, definitely recommend. So yeah, yum. I'm gonna stick these in the fridge.
I want to take a minute and thank Green Chef for sponsoring today's video. They are one of the longest supporters of my channel, and so I do appreciate their support and I truly love their meal kits. If you're not familiar with Green Chef, they are a USDA certified organic company, and they make eating well easy and affordable and have boxes and meals to fit every lifestyle. Today we're going to be using one of their boxes to meal prep a steak dish, which turned out so delicious. But if you guys want to try Green Chef, you can actually get $90 off across your first 4 boxes. I'll have a link in the description box below, but you can go to greenchef.us/90genchapin and use code 90genchapin to get $90 off, including free shipping on your first box. Green Chef does let you choose from a really wide variety of diets and lifestyles, and it's one of the ways that I can incorporate healthy dishes into our meal plans. And the best thing too is that they also make cooking really easy. All of the recipes include pre-measured sauces and ingredients so you can get a ton of flavor. Their recipes are delicious. Once again, the link is greenchef.us/90genchapin and use code 90genchapin to get $90 off, including free shipping on your first box.
Okay, so I am going to meal prep these Mongolian buffet steaks from Green Chef. I'm super excited about Adam and I having this for lunch this week. I love to use Green Chef meals, not only for dinners, I use them a lot for dinners and I've been working with them for a long time, but I also like to use them for meal prep, especially if you're following like a certain diet like keto or paleo, vegetarian, vegan, anything like that, because they will give you a lot of variety in terms of your flavors. And I think especially if you're following a particular type of diet, sometimes you can get bored of eating the same thing all the time. But with these meal kits, they're gonna really help keep you on track. So I am planning on doing 4 servings of this, so it'll be enough for Adam and I for 2 days of work. So let me read the recipe card and we'll get started. So the first thing that we're gonna do is season the steaks. I removed these from the package and I just dried them on some paper towels. It's important to do that, especially if you're gonna be searing steaks, so that it gets a good crust on the outside. And then we're supposed to season these with salt and pepper and the ancho, cumin, and oregano blend. And since I have 2 packets of this, I'm just gonna do 1 packet per side of the meat. And this cut of meat is actually flank steak, so it's best to like cook it medium to medium rare and then slice it thinly against the grain. And since we're meal prepping this, rather than eating it right away, slice it really thin and put it into the meal prep containers, because you always want to think about when you're meal prepping stuff is like, how are you going to be eating it at work? Because the less complicated you can make it, the more likely it is that you'll actually eat it. Right now Adam is in the basement listening to Pink Floyd, so hopefully the camera doesn't pick up on that and I get copyrighted, but it's the weekend here and we're all kind of relaxing, doing our own thing. Okay, so I'm gonna set this aside while I chop all the veggies just so the steak can kind of soak up some of that seasoning. So the green beans that it came with are already washed, which is super convenient. Don't have to do anything with those. And then I'm just gonna chop up these 2 red bell peppers. So this is gonna be like flank steak with, on the side we'll have the green beans and sauteed peppers. And the thing that I also really like about Green Chef, and I think is honestly like pretty unique to them, because I've tried a lot of different meal kits, like a lot. In fact, I've probably tried, 95% of them. But the thing I like about Green Chef is that they include these sauce packets and they are so good. Like, it's just, I don't know, original stuff that you wouldn't normally think of. And especially if you're someone who doesn't keep a lot of ingredients in your house to cook with, it can be super convenient because they already come, pre-mixed for you. All right, so I've got a large nonstick skillet here, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of avocado oil in the bottom of there, and then put our peppers and our green beans, and just saute these over about medium high heat until they're crisp tender. Another thing you want to keep in mind with cooking veggies for meal prep too is that when you heat them up in the microwave, when you go to eat it, it's gonna cook, you know, they're gonna cook a little bit more, so don't overcook them. All right, so I've got my beans and my peppers cooking over here, and I've got a stainless skillet with some avocado oil in it. You want oil that you can cook on high heat with, and I'm going to sear these. I might have to do it in 2 batches. Put them on a plate to rest, and then we'll make the pan sauce. It's already open on the corner, so just dump it in. Okay, so we seared the steaks, and those are just going to rest a little bit. Here is the green beans. I added the vinaigrette to them, seasoned them with salt and pepper. They turned out really good. And then this is the sauce that we're gonna use on top of the steak. So it's just coconut aminos with a little bit of melted butter and sesame oil. So before I pack this into meal prep containers, I'm gonna give it a chance to rest and cool a little bit. Okay, so I've let the steak cool actually for quite a while now. One thing that I wanna mention about cutting flank steak is you want to cut it against the grain. So you see how the grain is running this way? I'm actually going to cut it this way, and that will make it super tender. We did try one of these, and OMG, delicious. Probably the best flank steak, honestly, that I have ever cooked. You can see that this one is pretty rare, but like I said, that's fine. When it gets heated up in the microwave, it will be perfect. The seasoning on this was so good. All right, so I think I'm actually gonna put the steak in the smaller section of the meal prep container. And then same thing with this one. Yeah, I mean, when you can make a flank steak and it's tender, delicious. Okay, so I'm just gonna get the steak cut up, and then I'll put the green beans in. All right, so I got the steak in there, and next I'm gonna put the green beans and peppers in. I also put the sauce that we made on top of the steak. This is like the kind of meal prep that I get like excited to eat because I just know it's so delicious. And that's one thing I would say, especially if you're meal prepping, is like, and I know it sounds stupid to say this, but like make stuff you're actually gonna eat and that you look forward to eating. Otherwise, you just won't eat it. You'll go out to eat instead or whatever. And by the way, I got these meal prep containers at Walmart. I just thought they were such a cute color. But anyway, here is our Mongolian steak and green beans. Super healthy, low carb lunch. Can't wait to eat it. So the next thing that I'm gonna share with you guys is this kind of like healthy-ish, low-cal Funfetti Fruit Dip. So this is great for kids if they want like a sweet snack, but you don't wanna give them a dessert, because this dip tastes so good. In fact, I love it myself. And all that's in it is light Cool Whip, 000 vanilla yogurt. You could use any kind of yogurt that you wanted, and a 1/4 cup of Funfetti. So I actually found this recipe on TikTok, like randomly. So I'll link the account down below if I can find it, but I'll also type all of these recipes out. And I kind of started out measuring this out the first time I made it, and then I realized that that wasn't necessary. So what I use is one 5.3 ounce container of the 000 yogurt. This is actually really good vanilla yogurt. It's high protein, low sugar, and just the combination of the vanilla yogurt with like the Cool Whip and the Funfetti, I don't know what's so good about it, but like I said, if you're looking for like a dessert substitute, or even if you want to like bring this to a party this summer, it's super fun. Okay, and then for every container of yogurt, I use about, I don't know, maybe 1 cup of Cool Whip. It doesn't have to be exact. Cool Whip is obviously low calorie, but it's highly processed. So if you're not digging processed food, then you're probably not gonna like this, but to each their own. To me, it's like more about a balance of everything. Like for me personally, it's not realistic to say that I'm gonna cut every single bit of processed food out of my diet. So, you know, to each their own. Okay, and then this is a 1/8 cup measuring cup. Isn't it cute? I just do 1/4 cup of the Funfetti cake mix. So 1/4 cup Funfetti cake mix, a cup of light Cool Whip, 1 container of the 000, and that's it. Super simple. So normally once I get this stirred up, I will store it in the fridge. It does taste a little bit better after it sits for a while. And then I'll like wash up some apples and some strawberries and set it out for the kids to dip, and they love it. They love it in their lunchbox. So even if you don't have kids and you want like a sweet treat that's a little bit lower calorie, definitely try this. I think it's a winner. So I'm gonna put this in a different container, and then I'm gonna wash up some berries. If you've ever had like the marshmallow cream fruit dip that's like full of sugar, this is a really good substitute for that. Okay, so I'm gonna wash my strawberries. I actually got this over the sink strainer type deal from Amazon. I can link it down below. I really, really like it. You guys know I always wash my produce in my salad spinner, but sometimes I don't like either have the time or just not in the mood to like soak things, and so this works super duper well. So I'm just gonna rinse these off and let them dry. So I wanted to show you guys the remnants of the strawberries and dip. So I just set this out with lunch today. So some veggies that I had prepped, and then the strawberries that I watched in the dip. And as you can see, it is almost gone. So definitely recommend that recipe. So the next recipe that I'm going to prep is this corn and bean salad from my cookbook, the Essential Pantry Cookbook. I will link it down below. So I'm sort of modifying some things in this recipe based on what I have on hand. So obviously always feel free to do that. You'll need some cilantro. I had a rather sad looking bag of cilantro in my pantry, or I'm sorry, in my refrigerator. So I kind of just picked out the better parts, and we're gonna use that. The recipe calls for 1 can of pinto beans. I have black beans on hand, so I'm gonna use those instead, rinsed and drained. It also calls for 1 can of petite diced tomatoes drained. I am going to use fresh tomatoes because I have those. It also calls for canned corn, but I have fresh corn on hand, so I'm gonna use that. The dressing is made from olive oil, vinegar, salt, pepper, garlic, some Italian seasoning, and some cumin. You can add a little bit of sugar to it if you want to, depending on how it tastes. Obviously in recipes like this, a lot of the flavor is going to depend on the sweetness or not, you know, of your ingredients. So if you have really sweet corn or really sweet tomatoes, you might not need it. I have a rather suspicious looking onion here, but that's fine. We're going to use it. And then I also have some jalapenos in the refrigerator. So I'm going to go ahead and chop that up and use that as well. All right, so here's a tip I have for cutting corn off the cob, and this is not my idea. I got this from Rachel Ray, so I can't take credit for it, but you put your bowl that you want to cut your corn into, and then inside that you put a smaller bowl and you put the corn on top of there, and then when you cut off the kernels, they will just fall into the bowl. And trust me, I have done this many times, many ways, and this is the best way to do it. So would highly recommend this. And also if you have a serrated knife, it works a little bit better for cutting the corn off the cob. I consider myself somewhat of a corn connoisseur, being that, you know, I live in Iowa and that's about all we have here is cornfields. So one of the things about my pantry cookbook is I would get questions about some of the recipes, like why would you call for rice wine vinegar in a recipe like this? Or why would you call for Italian seasoning? And the answer for that is that I had to come up with a core list of ingredients for every single recipe in the book. And there could only be 85 of them. So if I used 2 different types of vinegar throughout the book, then that was 1 less ingredient that I had for variety. So hopefully that makes sense. And that's why I chose Italian seasoning, and that's why a lot of the recipes use Italian seasoning, because when I was coming up with my ingredient list, I felt it was one of the most versatile spices. So, okay, now you can see that we have our corn, probably a little bit more than I need for this recipe just because it calls for 1 can, but that's fine. We'll adjust the seasoning. Okay, so next I'm gonna put in 1 can of black beans. Do make sure that you drain the beans before you add it, otherwise it will make your salad a funky color. Okay, so I'm gonna cut up this jalapeno. I'm gonna go ahead and leave the seeds out of this just because I don't want it to be too spicy, but I did think it would be a nice addition. And what you can do with this corn and bean salad is you can eat it by itself. It makes like a great make-ahead salad for lunch. You can also dip tortilla chips in it. It's really good like that too. I think that some people make like a similar recipe with black-eyed peas, and I think it's called cowboy caviar. That's really good too. I've made that before a long time ago. All right, cilantro. Every once in a while I get comments that people wonder what they can substitute cilantro for because it tastes like soap to them. You know, in some recipes I think you can substitute parsley. Personally, I think the flavor of cilantro is like really unique, and so I'm not sure in this case what you would use. So the reason I have all these tomatoes is because one of the last times I did Walmart grocery pickup, I put down that I wanted 4 tomatoes, and I'm pretty sure they gave me 4 pounds of tomatoes. It's like, oh, that's good. So I'm trying to figure out ways to use them. We had BLTs one night this week, and then I'm gonna make this, and then I also am going to make some caprese salad, so that will use up some of them. All right, last but not least, our very questionable onion. I might only use half of this because, well, number one, I'm gonna have to peel a little bit of it off here. There we go. I'll use the other part of it for burgers this week. Okay, so for the dressing part, we need 6 tablespoons of vinegar, 6 tablespoons of oil, 2 cloves of garlic. I'm gonna use this garlic paste in the tube, which I love. 2 teaspoons of ground cumin. 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Half a teaspoon of salt. 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. All right, then we're gonna give this a mix and give it a taste. It's like so simple yet so good. I'm gonna add a tiny bit more salt. But yeah, I think that's done. And honestly, it gets better the more it sits in the fridge too. Yum, love it. Make this ASAP. So I just wanted to show you guys quick. I put this in one of these like taller Ziploc containers and it filled it up perfectly. So we'll have that for the week. Yum, yum. So I'm gonna prep some kale salad, and this sort of inspired me since I had a bunch of kale on hand this week. And so I looked up some recipes for kale salad online, and this one had really good ratings. I'll link it down below. It's from spendwithpennies.com. So these are all the ingredients that you'll need for the salad portion, and then I'll show you the dressing also. But you'll need some kale, some broccoli, some red onions, shredded carrots, some salt. It says cheese is optional, but I'm going to add some because to me this sort of seems like the broccoli salad recipe because it's got like the nuts and the cranberries in it, so I think it's going to be a good addition. So I just have a few blocks of cheese that I need to use up, so I'll cube those up and put them in. I have some olive oil, some almonds, dried cranberries, and sunflower seeds. All right, so the first step is to chop the kale, and I already washed this last night and just stuck it back in the fridge. The easiest way to chop kale is just to kind of roll it all into a bunch, and then I just try to cut it into strips. It's a personal preference how large you like it. I tend to like it in smaller pieces just because I think it's easier to eat. But we're actually going to massage this kale, and if you've never done that before, it's basically just rubbing it with some olive oil and some salt, and that kind of helps to tenderize it. One of the reasons why I like to meal prep salads with kale in them is they last a long time. Kale is like a very hardy green, and so even when you dress it ahead of time, it will still last quite a few days in the fridge. And I'm doing a challenge this week where I'm eating a pound of vegetables every single day or more, preferably more. So I definitely need things on hand like this that I can use for my lunch. Okay, I'm going to pour about 2 teaspoons maybe. That might have been a little bit much. Of olive oil on there and some salt, and then basically you just massage it like it says. Massage the kale. It helps tenderize it. I've seen this too where recipes will call for doing this with like lemon juice too, so I don't know. I assume you could do it either way. Okay, we're gonna set this aside. Okay, so for the dressing, I'm gonna make it in a mason jar because that's always the easiest, I feel like, in terms of making sure everything is combined well. Okay, I'm gonna add the olive oil. Okay, and then I need 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, which I got a couple of lemons out, but I think actually just 1 lemon will do. 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. 1 tablespoon of Dijon, which we're gonna eyeball. A clove of garlic. Half a teaspoon of dried oregano. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And some pepper. All right, and then it says about 1 tablespoon of honey or to taste. So we'll start with that. And yes, I love mason jars for this because it's so much easier than whisking everything together, and it comes together really fast. All right, pretty good. All right, so I need to chop up my broccoli. The recipe calls for about 2 cups. I feel like broccoli is one of those things that's like hard to chop. It's like, do you chop them individually or do you just do this? It's like, this seems to be just as effective as anything, so we'll go with it. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this in on top of my kale, and we'll get the rest of the ingredients in the bowl. Okay, the recipe calls for about a 1/4 cup of red onion. I had this chopped up from the other day, so I'm just gonna, I'm probably not gonna put in quite a 1/4 cup. I'm not too big on strong, like raw onion flavors, so. All right, that should be good. Okay, and then shredded carrots. All right, we're gonna put in about a 1/4 cup of sunflower seeds, 1/4 cup of cranberries, some slivered almonds, and then the last thing is just some cheese. So normally when I make the broccoli salad that's like this, I do like to cut it up into cubes rather than do like shredded cheese, because especially in a salad like this, if you use like really finely shredded cheese in it, it will disintegrate once it gets combined with the dressing. So just keep that in mind, that cubed cheese is best. And the recipe also says that you can use feta cheese. I have some feta on hand, but I actually thought that I would probably like the cheddar a little bit more. So since I already had some opened, that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do. But I bet this will be good. I'm looking forward to trying it. This one from Trader Joe's is a little harder to cut. Here comes Murphy. He wants some cheese. You want some cheese? It's like, well, yes, yes I do. All right, so the last thing is just to pour on the dressing. She says to pour on 1/3 of it, but I feel like that wouldn't be enough for this volume. So I don't know, I may have used a little bit too much kale and broccoli, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm really excited to taste this. So I think I will give it a taste. I know that the flavor will change once it sits in the fridge a little bit, but I just wanna know if I need to add any more sweetness to it before I pack it away. You know what else would be good in this is apple. Like cut up apple, that would be really good. All right, that is delicious. Yum. I'm actually gonna add a little bit more craisins to it because I feel like it needs it. Kind of cut the cheese. I literally just said cut the cheese. The sweetness will cut the strong flavor from the cheese. Oh my gosh, I need to go to bed. Anyway, all right, well, this looks delicious. So I'm gonna go ahead and pack this up. Let me think about how I'm gonna pack this up, if I'm gonna do it in individual salad containers or not. But yeah, I definitely recommend this recipe. Wow, so good.
Hello guys. It's me and Mom.
Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna make is a almond yogurt cake. It actually happens to be a keto recipe, and I can link the original video that I found it on down below. There's a YouTube channel called Keto Zerts, I think, where they make like keto desserts. We're gonna make this in a loaf pan, and it's gonna be almond flavored, like sweet almond flavored with yogurt. Okay, can you crack 3 eggs in the bowl?
Yeah.
And then just go ahead and whisk it up a little bit.
Can I smash the yolk or no?
Yeah. Yeah, you can go ahead and put the butter in. We're gonna add 1/3 cup of melted butter.
All this?
All of it, yep. You wanna put that in?
What is it?
It's yogurt. This is Greek yogurt. You can use this to scoop it out. Okay, so we actually need about 3/4 cup of yogurt, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. And then go ahead and whisk that up. Okay, so the original recipe calls for vanilla extract, but I think this is an almond cake, so we're gonna add almond extract. So you hold the spoon, I'll pour it in there, and then you can dump it in. We're gonna put 2 of these. I'm gonna put a pinch of salt in there. Okay, is that all mixed up?
Mm-hmm.
You can put 2 cups in there of this almond flour. Okay, and then we need 1/3 cup of sweetener. Here, I'll hold the bowl up and you can put it in there. All right, so we're gonna spread this out. Now this will bake at 350 for about 40 to 50 minutes. And I lined the baking sheet with some parchment paper just so we could easily lift it out. Because especially when you bake with almond flour, sometimes it can tend to stick a little bit more. So, okay, go ahead and put it in the oven. All right, so our keto almond cake just came out of the oven a little bit ago, and I just pulled it out of the pan. I'm letting it cool here on this wire rack, but it seems like very spongy. I'm gonna cut into it, mostly just because I wanted to show you guys what it looks like on the inside. Oh, yum. I probably shouldn't be cutting into it when it's this hot. I'm gonna taste it. Yum, that's really good. This would be really good with some berries and some sugar-free whipped cream. Definitely recommend it. Wow, that's good.
Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope that you enjoyed these recipes and got some ideas for your own meal prep, even if it's just meal prepping a few things. It always helps to have healthy food in the fridge to eat throughout the week. Thanks again for being here, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.